everyone. So today I wanted to talk about a personal story of mine about how I turned a dysfunctional and very emotionally unhealthy relationship into a healthy, nourishing, happy relationship filled with love and understanding, proper communication, everything that you'd find in a healthy relationship. So I'm going to explain to you guys how I went about doing this. I have been with the same man now on and off for 7 years, and we have had a very rocky history together. We have a son together who is 5 years old now. The communication between us is so clear. There is no more dysfunction in our relationship anymore. We just have a normal relationship now. We're both happy. We both love one another. We both are just drama free, and it feels so good. So I'm going to explain to you guys exactly what happened. So I met this guy back 7 years ago, and I really fell madly in love with him. We had a lot of things in common. We had a connection. We fell in love, and I'm sure all of you know what that feels like. Things were great. We were kind of like in a honeymoon phase, So we moved in together. We had a place. We were both working, and everything was good. Unfortunately, my partner had some drug use issues that he was still dealing with that I didn't realize was such a big deal because I never dealt with drug addicts before. So this was the first drug addict that I was so close with, I guess you could say. After I had my son, he kind of had like a mental breakdown and he got really addicted to drugs. I think it was like fake weed. They were selling this fake weed in stores, and he was doing this because if he did real weed, he was at a job where they drug test you all the time, so he didn't want to get busted for having drugs in his system. So he was doing this fake weed so they wouldn't detect it, but the fake weed had even worse side effects than the normal weed would. Like, it literally made him psychotic. Like, he was literally crazy on this stuff. He was not functional. He basically just stayed in his room getting high all day. Like, it was that bad. So these were the kind of conditions that I was living in when I had our son. He did not want a child. He was not ready for a child, he felt. So I think that's why he kind of had that breakdown. And he kind of was in denial that he was going to have a kid. So I basically did everything myself, put the baby room together by myself. He didn't want to help me. I went into labor and he was there, but he was high while my son was being born. So he was like high. And things were just not good. Things got so bad that he couldn't pay the rent anymore. He quit his job on a whim, and I wasn't working at the time because I just had my son, and so we had to move. He wanted us to move into his parents' house into one bedroom, and I had another daughter, so I had a son and a daughter, so he wanted all of us to move into one bedroom in his parents' house. And I thought that idea was absolutely ridiculous. So I was like, we're not moving there. Like, it's not happening. I'm going to move with my best friend in a different town, in a different province, like across the country. You can go move with your parents and sober up because obviously you're still addicted to drugs. So that's what we did. At the time, I was still extremely in love with him. My whole world was about my relationship with him. I didn't really have an identity. It was just basically my identity was being in a relationship with him. And so I was so desperate to keep us together, and I was so desperate for him to just smarten up and just be a family man and be a great boyfriend and be the perfect father and boyfriend. That was like desperately what I wanted. And of course, when you desperately want something in life, I don't know what it is, but life just is like, no, you don't get that. And then when you don't want it, it comes to you. Anyways, we'll be getting to that. I was living in this random town with my best friend who, thankfully, she took me in. Wonderful lady. My boyfriend was living in Calgary with his parents. And I wrote him a really long email saying, I really want to be with you. Smarten up, sober up. We can get a place together. I can move to Alberta or Calgary and we can get a place. We can get our life together. We can be a family. So desperate for it. And he was like, he just texted me, basically. He just dumped me, basically. He was like, no, like, I don't want to be with you. It's not going to work. Basically, he just dumped me over text, and that was the lowest point I'd ever been in my life. I had never experienced that kind of pain in my life. And there was such a low point. I was a single mom of 2 kids, totally broke, living on my friend's porch. Like, she didn't have a spare room, so I was like living on a porch basically, on welfare. Like, I felt like such a loser. And because I hit such a low point, I regained my identity. I started to gain a self-esteem again. I started watching a lot of motivational, self-improvement, self-growth videos on YouTube. I actually found a guy named Elliot Hulse, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. He really pulled me out of this deep depression that I was in and showed me that I was my own person and that I didn't need another person to be happy. And that was a really great lesson that I learned in my life. And now, actually, I love being alone. Even though I'm in a relationship, I love my alone time. I love my solitude. I never let myself lose my identity in a relationship again. That never happened again. And that was a really important lesson that I learned in my early 20s. After this, after I had gained my identity and I had a self-esteem and I felt like my own person again, I had passions, I had dreams, I had hopes for my future again. I kind of like ended up getting back together with him. I kind of did it out of reluctance. Okay, this is what happened. I went to go visit him in Calgary, okay? And we just ended up like sleeping together because, I don't know, you know how it is sleeping with your exes. So we hooked up and then he like drove us. He was still kind of on drugs, like just coming off drugs, but he wasn't off drugs, obviously. He drove me to a pawn shop. And I sat in a pawn shop parking lot and I didn't know what he was doing. So whatever, he just came out of the pawn shop and like, oh yeah, whatever. We drove back to his parents' house. And then all of a sudden he just like proposed to me. So he went to a pawn shop and bought some random ring and proposed to me there. And I don't know, like I just said yes, but in my heart I really didn't want to marry him. I really wasn't really in love with him anymore. And I just kind of said yes because I didn't want him to be sad. I just felt bad for him. So that's basically why I said yes. But then when I got back to my hometown that I was living in again, this is really bad. I emailed him and I was like, listen, like, I really don't want to be engaged to you. I don't want to be with you anymore. You're still on drugs. I'm just happy being single right now. Sorry. So I like wrote an email, which is pretty bad. I should have just talked to him, but that's what happened. So I was just living my single life. I was like really happy, just like hooking up with, you know, guys here and there and just enjoying being single. And it was great. And I was so happy. And then I got my own place. I decided to move to another city where my actual family lives. So I decided to get my own place in Winnipeg, Canada. And I got my own place and everything was great. I was running my own daycare at the time. And I was actually, this is at the point where I was actually filming on YouTube with you guys. Started my Lyra channel and everything. I started, you know, my dreams in life and everything. And he decided he wanted to move in with me and start a family together and be a family again. He was ready. He was off drugs, totally sober. Everything was great. So I was like, okay, we'll give it a go, you know. I want you to be there with your son and see your son and everything, you know. So he moved in and everything was good. He got a good job and I was running my daycare and everything. And something just wasn't right. So we had different plans about what our futures were going to be. My plan was that I was going to gain financial freedom online. And I already am in the process of doing that. Some of my income is coming from online now. And I know it's going to take, you know, numerous years for me to not have to work anymore. But I know eventually it's going to become a reality. That was my plan from the beginning. His plan, which is also very valuable and solid of a plan, like it wasn't stupid, was that he would work a job. He gets pretty high paying job. He has a lot of skills, so he makes a lot of money. He can save up really fast. He was going to buy property and rent it out, and then that was going to be his source of passive income. And I was like, that's great. But his idea was that I was going to be the supportive wife that was going to support him and not have any dreams of my own. And my dreams were dumb and they weren't going to work. And I should just give up everything and only support him. And both of us should work on his dream together. That was a big problem. And I felt very unsupported and I felt very unvalued. And I left him because of that. I know it seems like a really dumb reason, but he would just not let go of the fact that I wanted to be a YouTuber and live online. He didn't believe in that, and that was a big deal breaker for me. And I was like, if you're not going to support my dreams the way that I support yours, you're free to do what you want. I don't care if you want to buy property and use that as passive income. Do what you want with your life. But that same mindset should apply to me as well. So I literally left him because of that. I didn't have anything at the time. I didn't have any savings. I took all my shit, packed it up, and went to a woman's shelter 6 hours north of Winnipeg in a random town, because this is where my best friend was living again, but I decided I wanted to just go live in a shelter instead of living with her and get my own place in the town. So I lived in a homeless shelter with my kids for a couple months before I went and moved into my own place in this town that I'm in now. And I wrote him a letter before I left. I was like, I want to be my own person. I don't want to drop everything in my life and do everything that you want just because you think that's the right path. Blah, 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 blah in my letter. And I think he like finally got the point that I am my own person and I'm going to do whatever I want to do. He can't control me in any way. I have my own dreams that I'm going to follow. And I think it finally clicked in his head that what a healthy relationship is supposed to be. So I lived in this town, in my house here, for a whole year and a half. And then finally, when he kind of realized that, no, I was not moving back to be with him. I was going to stay in this town and pursue my dreams by myself. I think he changed. That's what changed him. He realized that things were either going to be fair or he was going to be single. So now he's back here. He doesn't live with me, but we are in a relationship, and it's a very happy relationship. There is no more fighting. There is no more conflict about who wants to do what with their life. We both make our life choices, and none of us make judgments about it, and we do what we want. And as long as it doesn't negatively affect the kids, we're both fine with it. He's very loving, very supportive. He is just, it's funny. He's everything I wanted in a man 5 years ago when I couldn't get it. Now, he is that man. He finally grew up. He's an excellent father. He's faithful. He doesn't lie. He's perfect. It's perfect. Okay, I'm not saying everything is perfect. We have little disagreements here and there, but they're nothing like they were before. They're not major, life-changing, deal-breaker disagreements. They're like, oh, you didn't do the dishes. Stuff like that. So what you can take from my story is that if the person you're with is dysfunctional and they're causing the dysfunction in your relationship, you just have to leave them. You have to change into the person that you want to be and into the person that you want to attract. And then you have to leave if they're not changing too. If they don't change, you have to leave and either find someone new or the person that you're with will change with you. They'll evolve with you. But either way, change is required. And do not be afraid to be alone and to set out on life by yourself. You can do it. You have what it takes. I believe in you. I believe that you can be happy without somebody. You don't need somebody to be happy. I guarantee you have your own hopes. You have your own dreams. You have your own passions. Focus on that, and I guarantee you it will make you so happy. The way that it made me so happy. Okay, guys, I hope that this was valuable for you. I guess I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.